Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today we're going to be doing a video on thyroid function and constipation or slow motility. This is a common issue I see with my patients that have thyroid issues. Is there some issue going on with slower motility, whether it's constipation, gastroparesis? Sometimes you even see it on the diarrhea side. But we're going to talk about the underlying root cause of why this is happening and what you can do to fix it. Before we dive in, make sure you smash that like button really hard. Put your comments down below. Let me know your experience with thyroid issues and connecting it to constipation. All right, let's dive in. So first off, constipation is essentially when you're not moving your bowels at least every 24 hours. Typically, you should pass about 12 inches of stool per day. And if you're skipping a day or so, that's a problem. So first off, you can run a transit time test, whether it's activated charcoal or some beets. Activated charcoal will turn your stool more black, beets more red, and you can set your timer. Once you consume that, 18 to 24 hours, that should be fully out of your system. If it's not, you're probably constipated. Now, the problem with constipation is if your bowels move too slow, you can have an issue called autointoxication, where there's essentially toxins. Part of moving your bowels is going to be pushing out fiber, pushing out bacteria, also toxins. So the longer it takes for us to push out toxins in our stool, the greater chance that we're going to reabsorb those toxins. That's called autointoxication. So it's very possible that having slow motility can really impact your detoxification, make you feel sicker, more tired, because you're not eliminating things adequately. So the first thing is we have to look at why you're not eliminating. Now, it could be a lot of different reasons. We're going to connect this video more towards thyroid issues. But if we have low thyroid hormone actually plays a major role in peristalsis. Low thyroid hormone can cause hair loss, eyebrow thinning, weaker, more brittle fingernails. Can also cause cold hands, cold feet, weight gain, mood issues, depression, anxiety, and then it can cause slow motility. Now, don't get me wrong. The reason why you're constipated may not be 100% because your thyroid hormone is low. There could be other factors like food allergies, like gut infections like SIBO, bacterial overgrowth, H. pylori, fungal overgrowth, inadequate enzyme, acid, or bile salt levels. All those are potential variables, and you could have a combination of all of them. But if you're a thyroid person, you know you already have thyroid issues. You know you have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid etiology that's driving the thyroid problem. Low thyroid hormone could be part of what's happening. So when we look at thyroid, we have our TSH, that's our brain hormone. Then we have T4, T4 free or T4 total. That's your more inactive thyroid hormone. That gets converted and activated into T3. T3 free is primarily what we're looking at. You can look at total as well, but T3 free. And so we have this domino rally of TSH, T4, T3, and it becomes more active as you go from T4 to T3, about 300 to 400% more active. Most people are only looking at TSH to assume what's happening downstream. But again, TSH is a brain hormone. It's made by the pituitary, and it's a signaling hormone. It's just telling the thyroid to make T4, and then that T4 gets converted to something more active, more metabolically active downstream. And so the assumption is, hey, if TSH is okay, then T4 and T3 is good. And if we run TSH and T4, the assumption is that T3 is good. But let's not assume, right? If we're not assessing, we're guessing. So we got to actually look at all three of those, TSH, T4, and T3, and we can look at the free hormones or free and total. And it's good to look at autoimmune markers, TPO, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, thyroglobulin, because if there's underlying autoimmunity, your immune system could be attacking the thyroid, and that can be causing high and low spikes of thyroid hormone. Over time, if there's a chronic autoimmune attack, that functional thyroid tissue that's making thyroid hormone may drop in its capacity to make more thyroid hormone. So you may start to have a decrease in thyroid function over time. Now, typically, TSH starts to go up, but that's a late stage marker. Your TSH may be going up years after your thyroid's been lower on the T3 side. So if your T3 free levels are below 3, it's possible there could be a problem downstream. And again, if it's just a little bit below and you have, let's say, significant female or male hormone and adrenal issues, the bigger issue may be adrenal, it may be more female hormone, low progesterone, insulin resistance, cortisol issues. That could be the bigger priority. So, for instance, if this is our cutoff for health, you may have thyroid right around the cutoff, but you could have other hormones that are much lower and more of a priority. So when you're working with a functional medicine practitioner, you want to kind of surveil the whole landscape and see what's going on, because that small imbalance over here may not be the top priority in what's happening. And so I always tell patients, don't go on thyroid hormone unless we really need it. If there's other significant imbalances, we're much better off supporting those, supporting the nutrients, working on the foundational diet, lifestyle, blood sugar, gut stuff, then jump on a thyroid hormone. But if it's necessary, if we're significantly in that bottom 25% or lower, and if there's any autoimmunity, it may make sense to work on that. But again, the big issues that could affect low thyroid hormone, besides just giving someone them needing more of it, and again, thyroid hormone may be necessary if it's very low, bottom 25% of the range, like 2.5 or lower. Again, it depends on how good everything else is. If you're at 2.5 or 2.6 on your T3 free, but your adrenals are great and all your other hormones are great, then you may need a little bit because everything else is, your thyroid is the weaker link out of that whole landscape, if you will. If your thyroid is just a little bit low, and everything else on the adrenal and hormone side and gut side is way lower, then the weaker link is something outside of your thyroid. And so we got to prioritize it. Okay, that's really important. Now, 80 to 90% of thyroid issues tend to be autoimmune. So there's low-hanging fruit like avoiding grains and gluten, potentially avoiding casein and dairy, managing blood sugar, eating healthy proteins and fats at every meal. These are low-hanging fruits. Making sure there's not insulin resistance due to too much processed refined carbohydrate and junky sugar and sodas and that kind of crap. Insulin resistance can have a major effect with T4 to T3 conversion, our inactive to active thyroid hormone. A lot of studies out there looking at insulin resistance, diabetes, and low T3. There's a significant correlation in the literature because we know high levels of insulin, that's the hormone that opens up our cells so we can get glucose into it and store it and use it for fuel. Those receptor sites get numb with high levels of insulin, and that can affect thyroid conversion, T4 to T3 conversion. Again, I'm in the trenches with patients all the time, so I see this daily, and there's a lot of different causes that people have that are driving their imbalances. Some have 5 or 6 issues happening all together. Some have 1 or 2 or 3. Everyone's a little bit different, and you don't really know until you start addressing these issues how much each variable moves the needle. I have some patients where we just change gluten and get their diet better, and it's like, whoa, their thyroid comes right alive because that autoimmune attack was holding them back so much. Others just may have a really deficient diet in zinc and selenium, and when we make some food changes and add some of those thyroid converting nutrients, that may jump it up. Others may have a chronic autoimmune attack where that tissue doesn't have the ability to make more thyroid hormone, and we may need to actually give more thyroid hormone and do everything else. So everyone's a little bit different. And so how I get great success is I just have all of my checklists of all the things that I know have to be looked at and overturned, and I just make sure everything gets checked off, everything is addressed, and we don't make any assumptions that something is fine. And sometimes the smallest, littlest thing, it's not sexy. It's like this little diet change or this little thing over there. It's not sexy. You think it may not move a needle, it may not, create a significant change, but it does sometimes. And so you have to kind of approach each situation that everything we may do may be significant and may not be. But if we go into it assuming that, that's not that big of a deal, we got to check it off and make sure we're good. So I hope this video makes sense. I don't want to make it overly simple that, just because you have constipation, you have low thyroid hormone, but it's a possibility. It's something we should check off. And of course, check off all the other issues like I mentioned as well. SIBO, SIFO, fungal overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, low enzyme, low acid, low bile support. Make sure you're chewing your food well. 30 or so chews. Get your food to an oatmeal-like consistency. Don't hydrate with food 5 or 10 minutes before, an hour and a half, 2 hours after, just to make sure we don't dilute our enzyme and acid levels. Again, this is Dr. J here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, feel free to click down below. You can reach out to myself and colleagues. I'm available worldwide for consultation, functional medicine support on this. If you need someone to kind of be in your corner and navigate this, I'm your person to help. And if you enjoyed it, put your comments below, thumbs up, really appreciate it. Let me just jump on and see if you guys have any questions. All right. All right, I'm going to just try to find the questions that are most applicable to the topic. Is an asymmetrical thyroid health issue the main analysis? I'm not sure what you're saying there. But in regards to tissue symmetry, it's possible you could have a nodule. It's possible one side of the thyroid could be inflamed over another. So if you're concerned, you can always get an ultrasound and have a radiologist look at that. But again, the underlying root etiology, whether it's unilateral or whether it's symmetrical, typically is going to be the same. You got to get to the autoimmune issues and fix what's driving that. Okay, great. Couple of questions that are just too broad here. How do I get to the root cause of my symptoms like depression, dehydration, inflammation, kidneys? So again, you got to do all the foundational things that I mentioned already. That would be more of a podcast topic, not a video question. But you got to get the diet dialed in. You got to get blood sugar dialed in. You got to look at the hormones. You got to look at the gut. Got to look at inflammation. Got to look at all of those things. But start with the diet. Start with digestion. Get the adrenals. Get the hormones. Get the nutrient deficiencies all dialed in. That's the first kind of step out of the gates. All right, very good. All right, a couple other questions here. I'm going to just kind of highlight here if I can. What are the top nutrients to help thyroid health? So first off, selenium and zinc are going to be really good. Selenium is very helpful because when there's a lot of autoimmunity, selenium can decrease inflammation at the thyroid level. The 5-deiodinase enzyme that helps convert T4 to T3 and activate your thyroid hormone is selenium-based. Selenium is also a precursor to glutathione. It's a glutathione cofactor, if you will. So it's very helpful for modulating the immune system, helping with inflammation, helping to support the liver. A lot of your inactive thyroid, RT3, which is your inactive thyroid hormone, it's how the body slows down the thyroid, comes from the liver. And so inadequate levels of selenium and adrenal stress can definitely impact that. That's why the adrenals can play a role with the thyroid. Lots of cortisol, extreme highs or extreme lows can cause the body to put the brake on thyroid by increasing reverse T3, and reverse T3 fills up, it clogs the receptor sites. It's like going into an open parking lot and having all these cones in the open parking lot saying reserved, and you can't use it. Even though the parking spot is open, you can't use it. And that's kind of what your body is doing with reverse T3. It's putting cones in the receptor sites for T3. Yeah, so Mike, in regards to your questions, you'd want to reach out to someone like myself. The questions are way too broad. Go to my website, justinhealth.com, and go find a podcast on each of those topics. And you'd want to reach out to someone like myself, justinhealth.com. You can schedule with myself. Love to dive in deeper. These videos are better for very specific, pointed questions, not broad questions. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, click down below. Thumbs up. Appreciate it. Share to family and friends.